जवाब हम दे चुके एज हमारी पार्टी तरफ से, तो ये सबसे बड़ी उसमें गलती है। और ये कोई कोइंसिडेंस नहीं है कि एग्जैक्टली 5 साल के बाद फिर से लॉ कमीशन ये एक्सरसाइज को अंडरटेक कर रहा है यूसीसी के बारे में। माने क्लॉकवर्क की तरह हर जनरल इलेक्शन से 5-6 महीने पहले भारतीय जनता पार्टी इस इशू को उठाती है यूसीसी को, और मकसद एक ही है कि एटमॉस्फेयर को विशिएट करना, पोलराइज करना इलेक्टोरेट को, ताकि आने वाले जो 2024 के चुनाव है उसमें उनको कोई सियासी फायदा मिल सके। अब आप ये समझिए कि जून 14, 2023 को जो उन्होंने पूछा यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड के बारे में, हाँ, मगर वही कंसल्टेशन पेपर के बाद जस्टिस चौहान साहब क्या बोले? दैट अ यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड इज नीदर नेसेसरी नॉट डिजायरेबल एट दिस स्टेज। ये बोले उन्होंने। ये यानी इनका कॉन्ट्रोडिक्शन देखो आप 22 लॉ कमीशन का। और दूसरी बात यह है, वो उन्हें बताते भी नहीं कि व्हाट इज अ यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड। ये जो 22वां लॉ कमीशन है, बताते भी नहीं व्हाट इज अ यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड। 21वां लॉ कमीशन चौहान साहब का, तो वो तो अलग ही ओपिनियन दिए, ये नहीं बताते। अब आप आ जाइए कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट असेंबली के डिबेट्स के ऊपर, जिसमें इसमें एक साफ तौर से कहा गया था बाबा साहेब अम्बेडकर के बारे में, अम्बेडकर ने कहा था, मैं आपको पढ़ के सुनाता हूं। वन ऑफ द सोल्यूशन प्रपोज्ड बाय Baba Saheb Ambedkar was that Parliament may make the Uniform Civil Code optional. It will be available to persons who wish to opt out of their personal laws. Dr. Ambedkar further assured the members of Constituent Assembly that, therefore, no one need to be apprehensive of the fact that if the state has the power, the state will immediately proceed to execute or enforce that power in a manner that may be found to be objectionable by the Muslims or by Christians or by any other community in India. We must all remember, including members of the Muslim community who have spoken on the subject, though no one can appreciate their feelings very well, that sovereignty is always limited, no matter even if you assert that it is unlimited, because sovereignty in the exercise of that power must reconcile with itself the sentiments of different communities. Ab important suniye aap, no government can exercise its power in such a manner as to provoke the Muslim community to rise in rebellion. I think it would be a mad government if it did so, but that is a matter which relates to excess of power and not to the power itself. So, it is clear from the text of Article 44 itself, as the debates in Constituent Assembly, that UCC was contemplated an exercise that involved disruption and upheaval to yield one size fits all. And therefore, notes of caution were sounded, including the need for it to temper with optionality. ये एक है। दूसरी बात ये है कि the exercise of the reform of specific personal laws of individual religious communities proposed in the consultation paper, yani consultation of 21st Law Commission, that it finds its basis not in Article 44 but in entry 5 of list 3 of 7th schedule of the Constitution. Such an exercise of codification or alteration of individual laws of individual communities requires a more focused consultative process, with draft laws being placed for comment and the participation of stakeholders from the affected communities being sought. As such, the consultation paper, just by virtue of sheer breadth of issues it has covered, was grossly unequal to the task it set out for itself. अब आप ये देख लीजिए, इसका तो कोई कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल बेसिस नहीं है, मगर हमारा मानना ये है कि ये एक पॉलिटिकल एक्सरसाइज हो रही है, एक गैर जरूरी के एक माहौल को मुल्क में पैदा करने के लिए लोकसभा इलेक्शन से पहले, ताकि जो तवज्जो है जनता की गरीबी के ऊपर, बेरोजगारी के ऊपर, महंगाई के ऊपर, चाइना जो जमीन पे हमारे कब्जा करके बैठा, उससे तवज्जो हटा दिया जाए। और हमारा मानना ये, हमारा एप्रीहेंशन ये है कि डेलिबरेटली uniforms, there is a reasonable apprehension that by deliberately confounding the difference between UCC on the one hand and piecemeal reform of family law on the other, the present government wishes to avoid political consequences of obliterating the diverse customs prevailing in various Hindu communities that are presently protected under various applicable statutes, avoid dealing with tribal practices that have been granted protection under a constitutional scheme, and skirt the issue of tax benefits available to Hindu undivided family, each of which is necessary concomitant of a UCC that is enforced throughout the territory of India. Instead, it is reasonably feared that such an exercise will merely isolate Muslim personal laws and subject them to a reform process solely for political gain and justify this process as being in furtherance of mandate Article 44, thus claim fulfillment of election promise. अब आप ये देख लीजिए, अब ये उत्तराखंड में जो हो रहा है, एक कमेटी बनाई गई, कमेटी ऑफ एक्सपर्ट्स ऑन लॉज रेगुलेटिंग पर्सनल सिविल मैटर्स, यूसीसी उत्तराखंड, एक नोटिफिकेशन दिए 27 मई 22 का. हमारा मानना ये है, इट इज नॉट इन फर्दरेंस ऑफ आर्टिकल 44 of the Constitution, any code of law applicable only to one state is by its very definition not uniform throughout the territory of India, which is the clear language of Article 44. Therefore, it is clear that both at the center as well as the state level, the bogey of UCC is being raised only to target the Muslim community and polarize the atmosphere of political mileage. अब आप ये देख लीजिए, हमारा जो अब प्रीवियस ऑब्जेक्शन का फर्स्ट पॉइंट क्या है, इस देश में इमेंस डाइवर्सिटी है विद इन वेरियस ग्रुप्स और द लीगल ट्रीटमेंट. अच्छा, जो लीगल ट्रीटमेंट विच इज मेटेड आउट टू कल्चरल कम्युनिटीज डिफर्स इमेंसली and is non-uniform. For example, Muslims and Christian citizens of the country cannot access tax rebate under Income Tax Act available to Hindu undivided families. This reflects not only a mistreatment of how Muslim and Christians are treated in the country, but also reflects how accumulation of caste capital continues to receive legislative and constitutional protection. It is obvious that Adivasi and Dalit communities do not have access to accumulated intergenerational capital and therefore cannot seek taxation benefits under existing legislation. Secondly, the term UCC appears in directive principles. The Law Commission has not clarified again how uniform is confused with the Common Civil Code. It must be emphasized that our constitution makers clearly noted that code will never be imposed on citizenry merely because of citizens. Third, unlike Hindu law, which operates on strictly priestly and legislative interpretation, Islamic law, along with Adivasi and Dalit social practices, is not uniform and extremely contingent on context, cultural practice, social relations. Therefore, one sees that despite a permission of polygamy in the community, Muslims in practice rarely practice it. In other words, Muslim personal law and equal gender rights are never seen as contradictory but consistent with each other in practice. Fifthly, for codified Hindu law, family and social relations are extremely diverse within communities. For example, in Hindu Marriage Act under Section 2 recognize the rights of Adivasi communities to continue practicing their own customary law. Similarly, within Muslim various groups and subgroups observe extremely varying practices. Each of these practices is considered by such groups to be within the umbrella of Sharia or Muslim personal law. Such communities include sects such as Shia, Sunni, but also cultural groups such as Kachi Memons and Mapila Muslims, and schools of thought, Hanafi, Jafri, Salafi, and other denominational schools of thought. Each of these groups' practices are influenced by each of these aspects. What are the aspects? And they cannot be classified into single monolith identity. The diversity of the country is too vast to be raised by single legislation of parliament.